Tom.
Thanks very much, Senators. It's a question for you both. I'm not sure how that affects timekeeping.
2 and 2.
Trust me, there's a screen behind us.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 2 and 2.
Vigilant.
Perhaps I'll start with you, Senator Wong. A common refrain from leaders from both parties has been Australia doesn't need to choose between the US and China over the years. Is that still the case?
Well, I think China has changed. I mean, I think that you're referencing probably a way of thinking about it between, that might have described the way in which Mr Howard was able to manage a principal strategic relationship with the United States and our principal economic relationship with China. But clearly the way in which economic power is being utilised for strategic purposes means that duality, that as a model of engagement is no longer the case. I would make this point though, we have actually already chosen. We have an alliance that's over 70 years old between us and the United States, an alliance with deep bipartisan support, so we have already chosen. But the point that we should be focused on is less about great power competition full stop, but what is the region that we want, with the rules that we want, that enables Australian interests to be advanced and protected. That is the key for us, and that means working with the US, which remains the indispensable partner in the reshaping of the region, but it means working also with other partners, other relationships. It means doing more in Southeast Asia and doing a great deal more in the Pacific.
I think acknowledging and indeed embracing the fundamental of the Australia-US alliance is obviously foundational in our approach in the region and more broadly. But we must be able to continue to pursue key relationships with countries like China, and they are issues that we've discussed already here today. But on the question of strategic choice, I think it's very important to reinforce Australia has no expectations and is not making any indication to any other of our partners or any countries in the region that they would be forced into making choices. Ultimately, they are sovereign decisions for the countries in our region. They have historic and current relationships that are their own. And I do think that sometimes the high volume, lots of light and movement discussions in Australia, not necessarily at the political level, often at the academic and media level about these issues, can feel intimidating to countries in our region. And I think it's very important to emphasise that Australia's expectation is that they will always be sovereign nations who will make their own decision.
Can I just have a follow-up on that? If what you're referencing is the articulation by the Singaporean Prime Minister and others about we don't want to choose between the US and China, I would say this. The basis of our engagement with the Southeast Asian nations is most effective if we find those principles and issues where we share views, rather than getting into an argument about great power competition. I mean, Southeast Asia has a very long history of dealing with great power competition.
The last quote I could find on that was 2019 from Scott Morrison, so I take that it perhaps was a comment.
Well, Prime Minister Lee has said it at least at 2 Shangri-La dialogues, I think. He has made that clear. And so my point is that message to us, that is a message to the great powers. I think a message to Australia as an ally of the United States is to recognise that the most powerful basis of our engagement with Southeast Asia is to focus on those issues where we have a shared interest. And we have a shared interest, as I said before, for example, on rules of the road such as the law of the sea. We have the same interest as Indonesia, which was instrumental in developing it, as the Philippines and so forth. So I think the exhortation from Prime Minister Lee it should be heard by Australian leaders.
And one of the reasons that we've consistently said that in our view of the Indo-Pacific, ASEAN is central to that and warmly welcomed ASEAN's outlook on the Indo-Pacific is because our neighbours and our partners in ASEAN bring that diversity of perspectives across a vast range of different cultures and political systems that we work closely with, and it's so important to respect those and to make sure that Australia's engagement is not in any way suggesting that there is a choice to be made by others.